This is the Stop Playing podcast with Sham and Shaka, the podcast where we give you our hot takes on news, entertainment, and sports. I'm Sham.
I'm Shaka. Sham, that was a nice intro. Very impressive.
That's crazy.
You know, Sham likes to do that to me sometimes.
Glad to know he wanted the listeners to know that wasn't planned.
Listen, I want the listeners to know that Sham always makes improvements that aren't planned. So if she thinks something's going to be good, she makes it a pleasant surprise.
But I'll tell you what's not a surprise. You can catch us on YouTube. You can also catch us on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and tell a friend. Matter of fact, engage with us on Twitter and on Facebook at the Stop Playing Podcast.
Absolutely. And it better not be a surprise to y'all that we're on YouTube, because we done told the whole world.
Yeah, we have. We've been putting it out there.
Yeah. I've bugged everybody I know. I've done the virtual equivalent of taking their phone in my hand and subscribing to them.
Yes, the Sham method. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's a good method. Yeah, it's outside. Look, it's outside my normal peripheral. That you know, but when you're in the podcast, you gotta get outside your comfort zone. Because some of my friends and people been like, "Whoa, you've been a little aggressive." Yeah, why don't you sign up, and then we can talk about how aggressive I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Why don't you sign up? Why don't you go to our Facebook page and like and engage? How about that?
Yeah. But great to be back. On the Super Tuesday edition.
Yeah, happening right now.
Super Tuesday is unfolding before our very eyes.
Joe Biden is resting on pretty right before us.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. But he really is resting on pretty. If Joe Biden would have listened to all our podcasts up to this point, he'd be like, "Yeah, I knew what I was doing." Right,
like who the hell you think y'all are?
Yeah,
y'all ain't shit.
Forget y'all. Yeah, I guess I am sitting on pretty. That's right. Where everybody else sitting at? Oh man, but yeah, we will get to that. But Sam, how's your week been? We've been off for about a week and a half.
Yeah, it's been a little busy. So I've been, listeners, that my mom's been sick, so I've been spending a lot of time with my mom. I've known my mom like my entire life, obviously, and I did not know that Harlem Nights was her favorite movie.
I mean, she's a wise woman. She's in my camp. She's in my camp.
I wanted to clutch the pearls.
It's not my favorite, but it's up there.
I know, love that movie. It's not your favorite, but you love it and you talk about it a lot.
All the time.
It was on last week sometime. It's been on BET a lot lately.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh wow, you about to watch Harlem Nights?" And she was like, "Yes, it's my favorite movie." I'm like, "What?" It's like I don't even know you. Let me tell you.
We can watch Harlem Nights anytime she wants.
Yeah, I did tell her you would enjoy knowing that. And I'm going to tell you what I didn't enjoy about watching Harlem Nights. See, my mom is of DVR generation. She's like the end of baby boomer, beginning of Generation X. And I cannot fathom why she records things if she's just going to watch them on live TV. I cannot stomach watching things on live TV anymore, and especially on BET, because there are so many commercials. Shaka, and this is not an exaggeration. I told her I was going to do this. There was one commercial break. I counted the number of commercials they aired before the movie came back into play. You want to take a guess how many commercials that was?
10.
20.
Oh my God.
20 commercials, including BET promos.
I mean, Sham, listeners, especially our newer ones, if you go back to the very beginning of this podcast, I want to say episode 4, I went on the same rant. It's so good to get you in our camp. I went on this exact same rant. I think I was more concerned with the time the commercials took as opposed to how many there were. But I think we're all at the same place. And I think it was about BET. And it was about, we were talking about Eddie Murphy and Boomerang and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous. And you're right. I mean, you couldn't pay me to watch something on BET Live, honestly. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through that, because I know exactly how you feel.
I think you were talking about the Bobby Brown story.
Mm-hmm.
And you were trying to watch it, but you couldn't because of all the commercials.
Yeah. You can't get back in the plot. Like now, look, you've seen Harlem Nights, right? So like, it's not like you on the edge of your seat, but at the same time, you're trying to get into the movie. You liking the movie. You like where it's at. Hopefully, a good part that you like is about to come up. Then they go to commercial. You're like, oh, that sucks, but okay, we'll be back. So,
That was
you done thought about something else you got to do.
That was legit the only reason why I waited, because I wanted to see the part where Quick is being chased by Arsenio Hall and them because they thought that he killed his brother.
He killed Tommy. Yeah.
I just wanted him to be like, Quick, real quick. Like, I just wanted that. And I was like sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. I'm like, oh, great.
And the BT one of the networks, they'll show you, especially if they have other shows and stuff, they'll do their regular commercials and then they'll show you commercials for the shows. And I'm sure you saw this. You'll get the same commercial for some of their shows twice in one commercial segment.
That's what happened.
So, yeah, they'll show you the commercial for the show. Then they'll go into some of their products. Then they'll do that. Then they'll come back to that commercial for that same show again before they get you back up to the movie. That's crazy. Like I said, BT need to grow up, man. I'm sorry, BT. Y'all gonna have to sue me, but I mean, you gotta get some money first. I guess that's what all that commercial's about. Whatever. But yeah, no, good. See, me and your mom got nice little kinship there. Good. Tell her I have Harlem Nights on like YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, I buy a lot of YouTube movies now. That's my new little thing. So all the movies I like, I buy them on YouTube and put them in my collection. And that's one of them. So that's what's up. But good. So otherwise, the work is good. Everything's good for you. I mean, good is in the sense of one day after the next.
Yep. And the Big Bacon Classic is back. So Sham is happy.
Hey, speaking of which, are you talking about Wendy's?
Yes.
Now, another thing Wendy's has done real quick, and we got a lot of stories to get to, so I'll keep this short. You saw they're doing breakfast?
Yep. Did see that.
What do you think of that? You gonna try it?
Maybe. I feel like they did that when I worked there back in the 90s. They had like a little breakfast situation, but I don't know. I may try it.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think you're right. I think it's one of those things. They dipped their toe in the pool and they tried it out, and they probably are like, "Look, man, everybody else is trying stuff, and it's working. We go over and try this." But I feel like they're putting a lot of ads behind this one. I've seen at least 3 or 4 ads like per day about it since they started. So
yeah, that ad came on during the Harlem Nights too.
Yeah, so they're not playing. All right, cool. Well, you go for the classic, maybe come back for some breakfast the next day. Who knows? Well, look, my week has been good as well. The weather's starting to warm up. I always like that. Sham, I actually gave up something for Lent. I don't think I told you. I gave up ordering out. So no DoorDash, no Uber Eats, none of that stuff. Now, that's one step shy of giving up fast food. So hopefully I get to that point. But in general, I'm not going to be ordering stuff and like paying an exorbitant amount of prices. And you've already said why you have to do that right now because of, the situation. So I get that. But if you have the opportunity, maybe down the road, it's been great. It's kept a lot of money in my little pocket. So I'm going to ride that wave for a while. So, and I've been feeling good. I've been eating better and all that. One little story before we get started. So we kind of talked about this. So Sham and I are part of a group on Facebook that was, and we're not going to name the group directly because it doesn't even deserve the pub, but the purpose of the group was to discuss music. So it's supposed to be a group devoted to especially 90s, old school type hip hop and stuff like that. So Sham,
but music rarely gets discussed anymore.
I was about to say you haven't left the group, but you have not participated nearly as much as I remember you used to, because you used to participate way more than me in the group, and I think because of what you just said, you've stepped away from it. Be glad you stepped away from it last week. So I'm gonna keep this real simple. A friend of ours, who we've actually talked about on the show, but for the purposes of the production, he would like me to call him Bootney Farnsworth. That's
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Sham, I purposely didn't tell you today before the show.
Because okay.
But that's not his name. But we have talked about him before on the show. In a very hilarious segment. But anyway, he threw out a question to the forum. He said, okay, here are the choices. You can have a threesome with Rihanna and essentially a woman who looks just like Rihanna. It was, I don't know if it's her sister or what, I don't know. But a threesome with these two or $20,000, which one you choose? Like, it's in your hands right now. So, Sham, is that part of the reason why you left or you haven't been associated with the group?
I mean, they always posting about, here's a picture of 4 women. Which one would you have sex with? Like, what does that have to do with hip hop?
Like, so he posts this. Sham, I'm not playing with you. He posts this at like 8:00 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning. Okay,
prime posting time.
Well, you know what? You would think, oh, well, Cass got to go to work. Oh no, Cass made time for this. So jumps a bunch of answers. Some guys are choosing the women. Some guys are choosing the money. So at first, it's fun and games. Then when people start choosing the women, a guy comes on and he's like, all y'all do is choosing women. That's what y'all problem is. Y'all don't know what real money is. Y'all don't know how to, get your business up and do all this. So then it starts devolving and getting personal. People are starting to be like, you don't know me.
That's what they do, though, all the time. Like, but I do know you because we talk every day.
Like we're all the same group, and yeah, we might be in different cities, but half of y'all talk to in this group more than you talk to your family and your friends. Like, it's ridiculous. What are y'all talking about? So it gets to the point where one guy says, well, how much money do you make where you could turn down 20,000? Dude's like, you don't need to know my finances. Dude's like, let's whip out W-2s. I mean, it's ridiculous. Sham, this is not. I'm watching this. And I'm like, yo, whatever work was supposed to be done by any of these people today was not done at all. Like 50% of their work was done because they were on this thread all day. So finally at 6:00, here goes one of the guys, and this is where the story comes to. All y'all going after the girls over here, y'all are looking at this 20,000, y'all are turning down this 20,000. Don't y'all understand this is generational wealth? Now, Sham, we've talked about terminology, and when you say stuff like river to the sea, crossing the Rubicon, generational wealth is another one of those terms where you really shouldn't be using it if you don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Like it couldn't be more like incorrect if it wanted to be. Like generational wealth literally is when wealth is passed down from one generation to another. Like, how is being handed $25,000 randomly? First of all, it's not even wealth.
It's not.
And to call it generational is just ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Like, and it's one, like you just said it. Generational wealth is passed down generations. That's why it's called that. And it's sustainable throughout generations. It creates a dynasty for a family. Now, the sad part is that the reason that this was probably used is because you hear this term a lot on sports shows and stuff like that when they're talking about athletes' contracts. And they'll say stuff like, what you have to understand is that this contract, this is creating generational wealth for this athlete. That's where these guys are getting this from.
Right, because they're getting millions of dollars that they probably can't spend in a lifetime if they handle it right, and they pass it on to their children.
Exactly. And these guys heard that, and so now any amount of money that's more than like what they could think about, which is sad, that whatever, that 20,000 or 25 even. Now listen, listeners, I want to be very clear about this. I'm not out here balling out of control. Anytime I sit here and talk about money, even when we're talking about contracts, I always say I don't reach my hand into anybody's pocket. But the way this man was talking, he was condescending to everyone else. Basically, like, I know what generational wealth is, y'all don't, and it's $20,000. That's like me saying, hey, person, forget that steak over there. I got a generational cheeseburger from McDonald's. like you can't say stuff like that from that type of using that type of facts. So those type of facts. So yeah, I just thought that was real funny. I actually talked to the person who put this out, and I I mean, I was going to do it anyway, but I thought it was appropriate to ask his permission to tell that story on the show since he threw out the thing. Because me and him had a sidebar, like, he and I, we were like, is it too serious?
Did nobody clown him? Like, I want to know.
Oh,
like,
no. Oh, he got clapped. Oh, like, Cass went on there immediately. It was like, huh?
I may have to log in and take a gander.
But yeah, no, it was crazy. It's crazy. That, I mean, you know, that's the kind of world we live in. Guys, get your calendars out. And whenever you want to use a word, if you're not quite sure, look it up in that calendar or Google it. Okay? That's the lesson of that story.
Damn. Are dictionaries a thing of the past?
Yeah, apparently.
Damn, you didn't even mention a dictionary.
I mean, I'll put it this way. If you're on Facebook already, I don't think you're going to take the time to get a dictionary. You're already on social media. You might as well go ahead and Google it. I put the calendar thing just to be funny. I don't even know who has word calendars anymore. I still do. I like them, but whatever. Guess I'm an old head. All right. Well, listen. It is Super Tuesday in the tradition of Super Tuesday. There's a lot going on in the news and everything else, and this will be a lot more news heavy. Not a lot of sports, but a lot of news and entertainment. So, Sam, you sent the first story to me. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you knew about the first story before I did. Mm-hmm. And then I got a hell of an update. And hopefully most of the listeners know this, but would you like to lay out the first story?
It's very simple, folks.
Yeah.
In a rural town in Western Maryland called Cumberland, a lady was going to the grocery store. She walks in the door and goes to grab a cart to start her shopping. A random stranger, a man, walks up to her and pokes her in the butt with a syringe.
Yeah, which is horrible.
He gets caught on camera. They catch him. She doesn't know what he's poked her with. She goes to the hospital. The doctors are giving her all these drugs. She's on the news saying she's on these maintenance prescriptions just because they don't know what he had in the syringe, and he refused to tell the authorities once he got captured. Like, adamantly did not want to tell what was in that syringe. So that's about as much as a story that I knew until I got dropped a bomb by Shock of the Night.
So we're preparing to tell the story and organizing our stories. Sham gives me all that, and I say, and I'm waiting for her to say, and thank God we found out, or whatever, not thank God, but like, and it's disgusting once we find out. So once she didn't, I said, oh, wait, you heard what was in it, right? No. So listeners, I hope you know it already. My man had semen in that syringe.
Why is you walking around with a syringe full of semen, bro? And what? Now you got me thinking.
Yeah.
Because, I didn't know that because I didn't follow up on the story after I said we should talk about it, which is pretty irresponsible. But so you mean to tell me this man was literally, now I'm thinking about the whole philosophy behind it. Like you just went and said, I'm just going to get me a syringe and I'm just going to pump it right quick. And then I'm just going to just walk. Like, that's crazy.
Now, here's the part I don't know. Wasn't just the one woman, or I thought he had, I mean, I guess they call him after the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was multiple people that
it might have been. Okay. I mean, I only knew about her.
Yeah. Yeah, now I know what Cumberland is. It's in Maryland, but it's not local enough to be considered DMV by any stretch. Cumberland
it's near West Virginia. It might be near Ohio, to be honest.
It's near West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, and all that. Like it's sort of in that corner.
I've been there a couple times.
I have too. I've come through there on my way back from Ohio. That's how I know that. So yeah, this won't be a weird we made the news like the Laurel airbags were. But yeah, this gentleman is quite sick. And, Sham asked a good question. And neither one of us have dug so deep into it that we know all the specifics. I think to your point, he was stonewalling for a while. So that's where the story kind of ended. And then they discovered it somehow, that it was the semen. The hope for both this woman and anyone else he may have affected is that he's not carrying a disease of some sort. If he is, well, regardless, but even on top of all that, if he is, they need to throw the book at this guy. The book. the syringe by itself is assault, of course. You have a disease and you do that, attempted murder. Attempted murder.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
not even
Like
playing.
that's the thing that concerns me at this point. Like, yeah, okay, it's good that you know what it is now, but you don't like he could be carrying something that's like deadly.
Yep. So, prayers for that woman. Hopefully, yeah, that's that's a unique type of assault where I mean she will never get over that,
It's
and
fucking
nor should
disgusting.
she. Yeah, it's disgusting.
She said she
Now,
thought she had been stung by like it was a cigarette that burned her. It felt like a bee sting.
I would think so. Yeah, syringe. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's the sharp. The pain is sharp enough, but I guess relatively quick enough where you're like, oh gosh, like what the hell was that? And whatever. Yeah, that guy. We I don't care what the result is. He needs to be in jail for a minute because he can't be trusted on the streets.
He was
So
charged with first and second degree assault and reckless
good,
endangerment.
good, good.
And the judge ordered that he be held without bail. So
Absolutely, yeah.
he can't be roaming the streets.
No bond on that. And
Nah.
tell her. And if they don't know, tell everybody inside what he was doing. So let's get that straight too.
Right.
All right. Well, now obviously it's not being spread in the manner we just talked about, but man, our last comment on the story last week or last episode was that we were hoping that it would trend downward and hopefully go away. Yeah, quite the opposite. So let's just go ahead and open up the coronavirus. It has now reached the point of pandemic. So, Sham, the number I saw was 90,000. It may be more than that at this point, though. Does that sound right to you?
Jesus. I think it was like something like 68 or 68,000 when we talked about it before. So
Correct. So actually 90 would be kind of a slowdown given
right.
the amount of time. But the deaths though. So last time it was just the first death in Europe. Now obviously there have been a few deaths in Europe and a few in America.
9 in America as of
9
6
in the
minutes
US.
ago. Yep.
Correct. Most of them on the West Coast, Washington State and California are the two states that jump to my mind. Have there been any other states that have a death in it? Because there was 6 in Washington State, correct?
It's 9 in Washington. All 9
so
are
all
in
9.
Washington.
I thought the first person was in Cali. Okay, well, if then they're all in Washington. And then what I also heard yesterday. Now this I do know. A lot of them were elderly, although one was not. A lot of them were elderly, and I want to say was it, if not the same elderly facility, a lot of them were in elderly facilities like nursing homes.
Well, folks that are dying from it are people with compromised immune systems. So
Correct.
Elderly people and sadly small children could end up, succumbing to it if they come in contact. But as of this morning, there are more than 100 cases in 15 states. New Hampshire and Georgia are the most recent ones.
Yeah, I know someone I received a notice that someone in DC was tested yesterday, and they haven't gotten the results. So no confirmed cases in DC yet, but I believe 6 or 7 people have been tested. And the most recent one was yesterday. Maryland may have a confirmed case. I feel like you're a bigger authority on Maryland than I am, but
I haven't heard that.
Okay.
But I mean, it's inevitable. I mean, honestly, I would have thought DC would have gotten it much sooner than that, because DC is just basically people are in and out all the time. Like,
yeah, that's a great point. It's a travel destination, and on the flip side too, DC, our health history is poor. We're a haven for disease. So yeah, I agree with you in the sense that it's a little surprise. It's a pleasant surprise, but it's a surprise. But I mean, look, here's the bottom line. It's inevitable. I mean, the disease has spread. It has now it has gone outside the point of containment. Forget containing it in some region in China, whatever. The ship is out of the bay. The horse is out of the barn. Whatever metaphor you want. So now you said it in the last episode. Now it's about the vaccine. We got to get on the vaccine ASAP.
Well, they said
And
that's going to be a year and a half out at least.
That's absurd. I listened to our last episode and you said it right. Y'all already got a name for it. It's spreading. Where's the vaccine? Like, where's the vaccine? Let's get to work on this ASAP.
The vaccine or something that'll help, not even if you can't cure it, something that'll help make it subside, like to keep you from dying.
Correct. Correct.
Like for people who are already infected, they can't get a vaccine. So what about those people? Can we help to keep them alive?
Yeah, I mean, what kind of numbers we looking at in a year and a half? I mean, are y'all serious right now? Does everybody in the world have to have it before you have a vaccine?
Shoot, by next month we be at 100,000. It's crazy.
Right. What y'all doing?
But there were 3 people tested in Maryland, and it all came back negative.
Okay. All right. Good.
As far as but again, nobody here has it. Yeah.
So, of course, all the memes, and they're correct, are like, look, we had to have a worldwide outbreak to get everybody to wash their hands.
Exactly. You're supposed to be doing that anyway. My hands stay ashy because all I do is wash them. Like, people be like, why your hands always ashy? Because I would have to put on lotion 25 times a day. Might as well keep them bitches ashy.
And one of the things the Stop Playing podcast was ahead of, we talked about it, I want to say last season, this season. Yeah, hand sanitizer, I mean, it's nice to have, but they ain't doing nothing.
Right. Get some damn soap.
Don't worry about that hand sanitizer so much. I'll put it this way. It's a nice thought that you're thoughtful enough to carry it around, but you better get some soap and wash them hands.
Dude,
or pull up that bread mean. That's coronavirus on that bread.
Let me tell you, I wash my hands. I keep wet wipes. I keep like anything to clean my hands in the moment. I got it, but I bet you I ain't relying on no freaking hand sanitizer. That's ridiculous.
I mean, the only good thing to come out of coronavirus is the shaming of already disgusting people who don't wash their hands and do all kinds of stuff. My favorite part of every coronavirus news story that comes on, especially when they have a public health official come on and make a press conference, and when they give the recommendations, I love now. At this point, it's standard at every news conference to say, and for God's sake, when you leave the bathroom, wash your hands. Like every public official says it now. It's like, I mean, it only took a worldwide outbreak of a disease to get somebody to do that. Like,
and we've all seen somebody at work leave the bathroom without washing their hands or out in public. It's like, you nasty. And I call people out. I'll be like, you just not even gonna wash your hands?
It's crazy.
And they look at me like, they're embarrassed that you noticed. Like, out here, and then you gonna go touch somebody. Ew.
It is.
Keep your chips on the plate. We've been saying that since day one.
Since day one. Yeah. Hey, look, maybe we need to add wash your hands in our tagline.
Right.
But I like how they say, I forgot. Like, no, that's not something you forget. It's like, you don't do it. Don't try to pretend like you normally do it. You know what I'm saying? Just go wash them now while I'm standing here. How about that?
Ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. So, okay, we have the pandemic. So our commander-in-chief, this is what presidents are there for, to reassure the public and make sure that they let the public know they're on top of the situation. So 45 has a press conference last week, calls a special, evening press conference, prime time. Gets the whole shebang out there. Brush out the cobwebs in the White House briefing room. All right. Oh, okay. This is a nice little room. What do we use this for? Sir, we're normally supposed to have press conferences in here. Oh, okay. Well, this is a nice little space. Let's go in here. So he comes out there, brings all his health officials, lets them go out first. All of them, to a man and a woman, say, well, listen, there's going to be an outbreak. We already know it. We can't really predict how many people are going to be affected. Let's just, try to keep a cool head and, we'll manage it. Then he's standing behind them as they do this. Then he goes up there and he's like, look, it's not a big deal. Like 0 people, maybe 15 people, something like that. But we got it under control. Immediately contradicts what they say in the same press conference. And so, of course, everybody's sitting there like, wow. And then Sham, to end the press conference, though, because we always got to have something to go off on, he makes an appointment. Who's going to be the czar that oversees the handling of the coronavirus? One would think it would be, I don't know, the Secretary of the Department of Health, the Surgeon General, somebody, who's in charge of stuff like that. No. It's going to be the Vice President. Because what did I say about the Vice President? He's a cleanup man. Hey, man, we got to go out and clean the situation up. Mike Pence, get out here. The only problem with making Mike Pence in charge of this is that Mike Pence is heavily criticized for how he handled the HIV outbreak in Indiana when he was governor, basically. And there was an outbreak of HIV based upon drug use, opioid use, and the passing of needles in the dirty needle exchange and stuff like that. And there was a program introduced in Indiana that would have allowed for needle exchange for people who are on opioids. And Mike Pence opposed it and basically was like, look, we don't got time for that. Like, tell them to get off drugs. And I'll pray for him. He basically was like, I'll pray for him. Like, that's the solution. And he's been widely criticized for allowing HIV to essentially spread. Now, I come down on like this on this. Yes, that's an ignorant statement for him to make. And he did make it. I paraphrased it, but that's essentially what he said. But at the same time, I'm not going to blame Mike Pence for somebody using opioids in Indiana and getting HIV from dirty needles. Like, he could have done more, but I'm not going to say he caused the HIV exchange. No, he didn't. And I'm not even down for that. But anyway, so he's in charge of the handling of the coronavirus. Not really more to say about that except why is Ben Carson the Secretary of Urban or head of the Department of Housing and Urban Development when his only forte in life is being a medical doctor? Why isn't he the Surgeon General? Why isn't he in charge of this? Probably because he can't be trusted.
Well, people were asking that from the beginning. So
exactly. Like you got the wrong people. You got the wrong people in charge of stuff. Like
what do you know about housing and urban development?
Yeah. If you're Ben Carson, shouldn't you raise your hand and be like, look, man, I'm in a complete wrong job anyway, but this is something I might be able to help with. Like, let me jump in.
That's what Keenan did as him.
Exactly, on SNL. Which was great. We were talking about that before the show. And he was like, yo, I just came up here to tell y'all it's going to be bad. All right, I'm leaving it. Yeah, Mike Pence was like, yo, calm down. Like, get off the stage. Okay, whatever. So, yeah, that was a great cold open, by the way, for the SNL. But, yeah, so listen, we can laugh, but this corona thing is very serious. I heard the word outbreak used. And, yes, it does appear that, to your point, elderly people with compromised immune systems, those are the most vulnerable. But hey, diseases take strands. This is this first strand. We don't even have a control over this one. Let's say we do get a vaccine. What if a stronger strand comes out? This was completely mishandled by not just the United States. This gives me no faith in like the people we have in charge of handling crises. People want to talk about global warming and stuff like that and climate change. We don't know how to handle a crisis. This was mishandled by pretty much every government on earth. And this is why it's been allowed to spread like this.
I blame Daryl Morey. It's his fault.
Why you make the Chinese so mad, man? They had their eye on the ball.
It ain't a coincidence.
Ever since you said that, they've been distracted.
Mm-hmm.
They're so mad.
You want to come for China, do you, old Houston Rockets general manager? We'll show you.
Either we'll show you or we so mad about that. We still kirking out about that. We don't got no NBA that we just let this situation, get out of control. All right. So, Shan, we have a sentencing.
All right, guys. So this next story is kind of a wrap up from one of our previous ones. It was one of our episodes that we playfully called The Mayor.
Yeah.
Where we talked about a couple mayors going through some things. But this mayor put herself through all of the things that she went through. And this is the former mayor of Baltimore City, Catherine Pugh. She was sentenced last week to 3 years in federal prison. They were going for 5, but she was sentenced to 3. And for those of you who are just jumping in on this and have no idea what we're talking about, ex-Mayor Catherine Pugh had associated herself with a book company. She had a publishing deal, and then she mixed that kind of with her dealings with the University of Maryland Hospital. And she was on the board, and it was just a lot of like kind of intermingling that was illegal for a state representative to be involved in at the time. So she was selling those Healthy Holly books, which we find out now, because remember you were like, they're probably in a warehouse somewhere off of 95 while she's collecting the money. No. So what she was doing was she was selling the books and then selling the same books. So she never actually had like the number of books that like, say she sold like 20,000 books, but only had 10. So she had sold some and were selling them again, but just was never coming up with the books. So
she was participating in an illegal enterprise in the first place and then scamming her customers in that very enterprise.
Right. That's exactly what was happening. And then there was also the lies on the tax documents and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that wrapped up this week. She is serving 3 years in federal prison.
And, you know, before you gave me that little nugget, because I thought I had dug into it, but I didn't know that piece of it, I was about to be like, wow, that's a kind of a hefty little sentence. 3 years in federal prison. But, yeah, the more you peel off that onion, she was doing a lot.
Well, you got to remember, too, there were like 9 counts that she was being charged, that she had been charged with. So, I mean, most people who have that many counts end up with way more time, but a lot of them were like fraud. So about 6 of them were fraud.
And then, you know, she's a public official. So, yeah, you're looking at some time. Yeah.
And she came out with this lame video apologizing. I was like, why y'all do this? Don't come out with videos. Just
I'm gonna keep it 100. I'll be thinking a lot about people who be apologizing. If I'm going to jail, apologizing is the last thing on my mind. I gotta get my mind right.
You ain't gonna see me.
You ain't gonna see me at all. I gotta get my mind right. PR is the last thing on my mind. If I know there's literally no way I can get out of this and I'm about to head to prison, I'm getting my affairs in order. Forget y'all.
Yeah, you already late. It's too late for PR now.
It's too late. All right, well, that's wrapped up. So, all right. So the next story is another sentencing. Now, I'm a lot more happy about this one. I got to keep it real. So Harvey Weinstein was sentenced to I think he also got was it 3 years? Yeah, I think he got 3 years. 3 to 5 or something like that. He was convicted. No, he hasn't been sentenced yet.
No, it's just a verdict.
Yeah, it was just a verdict, and you have
sentencing is coming. So,
yeah, sentencing is coming. So he got convicted of a couple of the counts. He got acquitted of one. The rape of Annabella Sciorra, Sopranos mentioned. She was on Sopranos. She told a very graphic story about her rape, but I guess that one wasn't enough for the jury. But the other couple of young ladies who told their stories, he got convicted of their assaults. So he will go to jail, definitely. There's no question about that. So what did Mr. Weinstein do after that? He probably had some chest pains, and he's now in. I think he's still there. Actually, I haven't heard that he's been moved from the hospital because he was supposed to go to Rikers while he awaited his sentencing.
Look, man, this dude went from walking in there with a bounce to having a walker. Now he having freaking myocardial infarctions, aka heart attack, I guess.
Yeah, everybody was like, don't jail have a medical wing? I mean, if I knew I was people were killing on Twitter. They were like, I mean, if I knew I was going to jail for this, I guess I'd have a heart attack too. You know what I'm saying? If I realized I finally got caught for all the rapes I've been doing, I probably have a heart attack too. Now here's the other. I mean, that's funny in the sense that he's clearly trying to get out of this. Cham, you know, I love wrap-up stories because sometimes they take us back. A gentleman who I had never thought to have heard from again unless his particular client came up in the news, decided to pop up and make a statement. One Mr. Andrew Wyatt decided that the day of Harvey Weinstein's verdict was the day he wanted to jump out of the shadows. Andrew Wyatt, for everyone who doesn't know, is Bill Cosby's publicist. I have called this man a clown essentially from the beginning of this podcast, and he did not disappoint. The second I saw he had a statement, I stopped what I was doing, hit that Google card, and opened that thing all the way up. I'm gonna paraphrase it like this, Sham. Basically, he said Harvey Weinstein's verdict was another example of how the system is railroading and falsely imprisoning men, and it's basically like a conspiracy.
You said it was a sad day in the American. You just
yes. Oh, you're reading it.
Yeah.
Does it? I mean, look, I said it before. Whoever convinced Bill Cosby to hire this man needs to go back to Bill Cosby and be like, look, I was wrong. I don't know why I told you bring this dude and you can't. Get this dude away from you. The last thing Bill Cosby wants people to think of, the last moment that Bill Cosby wants people to think of him is at the verdict of Harvey Weinstein being found guilty. He doesn't want to be associated with Harvey Weinstein. That's the whole thing.
The worst thing Bill Cosby could have done was to hire a man as his publicist. He should have hired a woman.
Yes, he should have. And then on top of that mistake, hire a clown, which he hired right here.
Yeah.
How are you going to sit here and say, after this man was clearly guilty, you're going to associate him with your client? You should be disassociating yourself from people like Harvey Weinstein. I thought he was going to be like, people trying to make the comparison between Harvey Weinstein and my client are completely wrong. They're totally different people. This is totally different cases, and that's an unfair comparison. That's the kind of stuff
not say anything at all.
How about? I mean, please don't say anything.
Mind your business. Keep it moving.
I mean, why are you doing that? So anyway, I just found that like ridiculous. All right, but Mr. Weinstein will be going to jail. I think his sentencing is in June. Something. It's a while. It's going to take a while. All right, another little wrap up. Actually, this isn't the wrap up. This is a continuation.
Oh yeah, it's getting heavy.
Yeah, and Becky going to trial. So her trial date said, Sham, did I see October as the trial date?
Yeah, they were targeting October.
I remember seeing it and being like, yo, she has a lot of time. I feel like a lot of time has already passed. But, and Becky, the only thing I have on this, and if you have more, please feel free. And Becky actually is seeing a little headway. Her defense team was able to submit a motion to the judge. Now, the judge is going to rule on it. But basically what they're saying is that the FBI tried to get Singer, who's the mastermind behind this whole thing, the person who originally they were after, who then brought in down the House of Cards. They were trying to get him to say that all the parents knew exactly what he was doing, and they wanted him to overtly say that, even though his position was that he, quote unquote, tricked the parents into believing they were donating to the schools. Now, this is ridiculous. How do you trick somebody into believing they're donating to a school? You know how you donate to a school? You contact a certified member of that school or a board member, whoever it is, and you make a donation. You don't have a third party come to you and say, hey, let's doctor up your kids' applications and then give me this check and I'm going to put it as a donation. And you really are giving a donation. So that's a shabby defense, but that's her defense. But where she's getting some headway is that her defense is saying, okay, well, whether you like our defense or not, he was supporting that defense, he being Rick Singer, and we have evidence that the FBI tried to get him to lie and say that that wasn't the defense and that they just talked about it. And even though he said he wasn't going to say that in court, they were going to put that in documents. Now, if there's any truth to that, that's one of those things where even if she did do it, she's giving a little bit of an opening if the feds aren't running the case above board, basically. It's like OJ killing somebody and then people mishandling the evidence. And Sham, you work cases all the time. So you know how that can be. If evidence isn't handled right, if the authorities aren't following the chain and proper process, that's pretty much where Lori Loughlin is going with this.
Yeah.
So she might have some headway.
They've given her a little bit of an out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's still dumb. I mean,
stuff like this is how mistrials happen.
Exactly. And I think Lori Loughlin, I think Aunt Becky at this point is like, look, the best case scenario is I get a mistrial out of this. Or like I find some piece of evidence that was gravely mishandled and either I could get a mistrial, I could use it to get an acquittal if the judge doesn't give me a mistrial. So that's the angle she's taking.
Yeah. Well, the trial's in October. They're in the discovery phase right now. So,
So she got 10 months to find something.
Yeah. And this is not uncommon too. Like, usually it takes about a year for trial dates to actually happen when you actually file the complaint or you're indicted or whatever. Like, it usually takes that long. So
or 8 months, I should say, from now. And meanwhile, Felicity Huffman had moved on with her whole little life. Now on to some more serious stuff. Sham, our first 2 episodes of this season. Obviously, our first episode was pretty much right after the death of Kobe Bryant, and then the second episode we talked a little bit about it, but the memorial was coming up. You have seen the memorial?
I actually watched it twice.
Did you, from beginning to end?
Yeah, I did. I know it was odd, right? And because I don't know, like I said this on the show, like I wasn't even that big of a Kobe fan, but it was just something about this whole thing like kind of got to me. So I had watched it live on YouTube while I was at work, and then I didn't mean to go back and watch it again. I actually just wanted to watch one part again, and then I ended up wrapped up in that, and then my mom ended up watching it. So, but just some of my thoughts on it. Of all the celebrity memorials that have been on television as of late, be it Aretha Franklin, Nipsey Hussle, this one was put together nicely. I feel like they learned something from it. It was very Kobe-ish in the manner in which it was presented. It was very like thought out, methodical, just kind of how he was. It's almost like if he had to plan his own memorial, this is how it would go. So I love finally getting to hear from Vanessa Bryant and her speak about her relationship with her husband and, about Gigi. I've really been longing to hear, just to kind of know how she felt. And, it's none of my business really, but that I had a loved one, a boyfriend that passed away. So I kind of feel like a small connection with anybody who loses the person that they love. So I just kind of wanted to hear from her, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Gino Auriemma talking about how Kobe asked him to give him coaching pointers, and he's like, why would, you've never listened to a coach in your life. So I don't know, I don't know why you're asking me. If you're coaching your daughter, then I feel sorry for her because if she plays anything like you, know what I mean? I love Gino. Diana Taurasi, she got up there and talked about her connection with Kobe. She barred LeBron James, which was awesome.
I heard about that.
I'm always for LeBron James bar, but she basically said, Gigi at 12 had Kobe's turnaround jumper, and Bron still can't do it today. And then the young lady who plays at the best college basketball player in the world right now, the girl, I can't remember, Alicia.
Don't give me the line.
Sabrina Miescu, something like that. I'm tearing her name up, but she's the best college basketball player in the world right now, and I can't even get her name right.
Yeah. Okay.
She got up and talked about her connection with Kobe. The one that really got me though was Michael Jordan, because you never see him. I mean, the last time you saw Michael Jordan cry was the meme that went around the world, and it's still going around the world.
His Hall of Fame.
His Hall of Fame, exactly. But as soon as Michael Jordan walked on the stage, he said 2 words, and his face was just bawling with tears. Like, and the one thing that he said that really stuck out to me was that, a lot of people like to talk about the comparisons about me and Kobe and how he played like me. He's like, I want to talk about how good of a friend he was, how he was like my little brother. And he talked about Kobe calling him and texting him all hours of the night, asking him about just moves and just asking him life questions, and just how annoying he was in the beginning. But then he began to appreciate that he just wanted to be a better person, a better basketball player, a better father. And it was just a very emotional segment. I didn't expect them to call his name to come up at all. And then when he came walking on the stage, it was like, whoa, Michael Jordan's there. That was the segment that I wanted to watch again, because out of everybody who spoke, and even Vanessa, like, it was just so powerful to listen to him talk about him. Alicia Keys played the piano, Moonlight Sonata, which Kobe apparently taught himself by ear and used to play it for Vanessa. And then Jimmy Kimmel.
Did Alicia, I mean, we all know Alicia can play the piano. Did she do a good job, a better job here than she did at the Grammys?
I'm sure it's Midnight Sonata. I mean, like, Moonlight Sonata is Beethoven. It's like every person who is a serious piano player learns to play that. It's like, it's the repertoire. It's part of the repertoire.
Yeah,
so
I guess I was being facetious. Did she only played the piano? She didn't do anything else. So there was really nothing, no opportunity.
She only played that because that was like his favorite Beethoven.
Okay, got it.
Like, yeah, thank God she didn't sing. Beyonce did the singing, which is appropriate.
Okay.
And Jimmy Kimmel said something like, I'm sure Kobe is up there now thinking about how he's going to learn to play that better than Alicia Keys. So, I mean, there was all these jokes about how like he wanted to be better than everybody, but competitive and stuff like that. But the Jordan thing really kind of got to me, and it was really good, and everybody did well.
Good, and I heard a lot of good things about it. I saw none of it. You know what? I was about to say I was at work, but if I wanted to watch it, I would have. I'm not a memorial type person. I don't like watching them, but I can appreciate them, and I can appreciate why it was important. I think it's interesting. I don't know how long it took for Aretha Franklin or even Nipsey. I feel like Nipsey's was like a week out, maybe 2 weeks out from his death. I mean, they've had a month to prepare for this, essentially. I believe Kobe died on the January the 26th, if I'm not mistaken. So that memorial was on February 24th, obviously the 2 and the 24 and all that, and I get it. But they've had a month, is my point. To, you know, by they, I mean anyone who was even asked to speak at this had a month to get it right and make sure they didn't go up there and you know, just ruin it, essentially. If you don't mind me asking, so I saw a lot about the memorial. Most of it was good, of course, because people don't know how to just appreciate something and let it go. But I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it. So can we talk about who didn't speak, which was LeBron James? What did you think of that? First of all, there was a debate whether he was even there. So my point is, I know he was there because they showed him, and you talked about Don Taurasi's comment to him. And didn't they show him when she said that?
No, they didn't even.
They didn't.
Camera. They didn't turn the camera away.
So he was never shown. So there was a legitimate reason why people didn't think he was there.
I mean, I don't care why he was there, if he was there or not. Like, to me, like, okay, whatever. Like, LeBron wasn't there, but he said he didn't want to make it about him. If people saw him there, then it would be about him.
No. He was there. He was there.
I know, but he said that he didn't want it to be about him. So he was there wearing a black hoodie.
Yeah.
So you made it about you by trying to be incognito because nobody saw you. You could have just sat next to Anthony Davis and Kyrie and everybody else who was there and been like a normal person. Like, I don't understand that whole. I didn't want. I
don't understand that either. Yeah,
like he always says the dumbest. Oh my God! For as good as he is at certain things, he says dumb shit like that, and I'm like, dude, no one would have thought about you in that moment.
Yeah, he kind of. That's the situation in which you outthought yourself. Like, right. You thought it was going to be like sort of a tribute to not. You're going to come in a hoodie. You're one of the most famous people in the world. That's like me. That's like Michael Jordan putting on like a fake mustache and coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, nah. But to your point though, I'm not killing him for not speaking. If you didn't feel like you had the emotional wherewithal to speak, then that's fine. If you don't want to speak, don't speak. So I'm with that. I don't know why people were tripping about that. But yeah, the hoodie thing was dumb.
Let me tell you something. The people who should have spoken, spoke.
Good.
The people who, like, to me, it wouldn't have added anything if he spoke. It wouldn't have taken, it doesn't take anything away. I mean, the people he was closest to spoke. Aside from his parents and his sisters, the people who should have spoken, spoke. And the girls, the lady's name is Sabrina Ionescu.
Yeah,
I didn't want to mess that up, but yeah.
Oh, you think his parents should have spoken? I mean, they were estranged. I mean, they were kind of trying to make it up, but they were estranged.
That was their only son. Like, I'm not saying they should have spoken. I'm saying the people who did speak, outside of them, like who else?
Oh,
like,
outside of his immediate family.
Yeah, like.
Okay, I got you.
I mean, Jordan, Rob Pelinka did a beautiful eulogy. Shaq.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, good closure in terms of the memorial and in terms of.
Yes, and I'm glad that there's finally closure because it was like a month. I'm like, yeah, I understand why they wanted to do it on 2/24, number 24, but it was a while. Just now everybody can kind of breathe and try to move on.
Yeah, there's a lot. But I'm glad you were able to see it, and from what I heard from other people as well, it was well done. So good stuff. All right, so as we talked about Super Tuesday, now before we get into the candidacies and kind of wrap up the news segment in general, a couple of notes about our commander-in-chief. So he fired the head of the Department of National Intelligence, basically, or Director of National Intelligence. He fired the Director of National Intelligence. This is part and parcel, and real quick, back to my last episode. Basically, 45 has been going crazy since he's gotten acquitted, and he can do what he wants. So he fired this man because he didn't like a briefing that one of the man's subordinates had given to the Senate about Russia interfering in in this upcoming election. So because the Republican senators heard this briefing, they got mad and called 45 like, why are some of your intelligence people coming in here telling us that Russia's going to interfere with this election? We're trying to diffuse stuff like this. So that he gets mad, calls the Director of National Intelligence, and fires him. You ain't supposed to do that, but you ain't supposed to do that is like, I think he wakes up to that every day. Like, what am I not supposed to do? Okay, I'm gonna do that. This is part and parcel also what he's done this week, or I'm sorry, last week. He started issuing a big just chain of pardons. And Shan, we were talking about Catherine Pugh before, and this is what chastened me in talking about her jail sentence, because I was like, well, somebody got a big one. He pardoned Rod Blagojevich. You remember him?
Yep.
So listeners, Rod Blagojevich, look him up if you've never heard of him. And just put Blago in there. I don't even need to spell it. It'll come up as soon as you say it. Rod Blagojevich was the governor of Illinois. Now, what happened was Barack Obama was the senator of Illinois at the time. At the same time that Rod Blagojevich was governor. When Barack Obama decided to run for president and eventually won the presidency, he, of course, had to vacate his Senate seat. So then when the Senate seat became open, Illinois is one of those states, and most states are like this. If there's a sudden vacancy, either through the death or promotion or whatever, he can appoint it. He don't have to wait for an election. He can just put somebody in there. So Rod Blagojevich decided he wanted to use that and try to basically extort the Senate seat and hold it up for grabs and have people put in bids for it. That's patently illegal. And he got caught on the phone saying this. So he got put in jail for 14 years. I didn't realize how big his sentence was. I didn't even think he was still in jail until this all happened. So when you talked about Catherine Pugh, I was like, yeah, well, Blagojevich got sent to 15 years and he was white. So, all right. So anyway, he had brown hair when he came. His hair is totally white. Jail has been stressing him out. He hasn't lost any of it, but it's white as stuff.
I mean, President he's also Trump, old.
Well, he's about what? 10 years older. Because I think he was only 10 years into the sentence. He wasn't that old when he went in. I think he was in his 40s, maybe. So he's in his 50s.
He's 63 now. So
so he was in his 50s then. Okay.
And he was probably dyeing his hair.
Yeah, he ran out of the dye. All right. Well, anyway, President Trump has 45 has pardoned him. He gets out and he's a Democrat. I mean, at least on paper. He says, I'm now a Trumpocrat. Thank you, President Trump, for letting me out. And whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. So This is one of those things where even the Republicans were like, yo, why did you pardon this dude? This dude was guilty of sin. He doesn't deserve it. There are 1,000 people that deserve to get pardoned before this guy. He's completely corrupt. Like, this is just an example of you just trying to stick it in everybody's face. So that's what our commander-in-chief was doing. But otherwise, he's been having a pretty good week or two. You know, even handling this virus, he's just passing it off the bench. He's kind of living his little best life right now. Why is he living his best life? Because he sees what his opponents are doing. So we're going to wrap this segment up like this. It's Super Tuesday. As we've said a couple of times, returns are still coming in. It's looking like Joe Biden's having a good night again. So the last time we taped, we were on the eve of, not eve, but we were before the South Carolina race. There were a couple of people who were looking very good at that point, right, Shan? Mm-hmm. Mayor Pete Buttigieg was looking very good. Bernie Sanders, who we'll get to in a second. We had actually given some props to Amy Klobuchar for, coming in third in Iowa, coming in third in New Hampshire, kind of running the tortoise, you called it, and I agree with that metaphor, campaign. She was slow and steady, not making mistakes. And we were concerned about Elizabeth Warren, and we were very concerned about Uncle Joe. We were sitting here saying, hey, well, he probably won South Carolina, but he still got a lot of work to do. Okay. Then South Carolina happened. We both understood he was going to win it. And, I mean, he completely, destroyed everyone. Sam, he won every – well, you know this, but he won every single county in South Carolina last week.
Dummies.
Every single county. He did not lose one county in that state. When we say the black people came out and voted for him, they came out and for real voted for him. And Representative Clyburn, the House Whip, who's black, he's one of those old black congressmen, he endorsed him the day before the election.
Yeah, I saw that press conference.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. It was everything we've talked about. Even my mom, I was sitting there, I was at her house, and she was like, and she's from South Carolina, she was like, this is ridiculous. He needs to sit down. So anyway, once that happens, I mean, Sham, all hell breaks loose. Even I, who try to keep my finger on the pulse of politics, am sitting here like, what is happening right now? And actually, before we get to that, real quick, so there was a debate. We were talking about Elizabeth Warren. Sham, I mean, you could appreciate this. You saw did you see that part of the debate, or did you just hear about it?
Oh, when she barred Bloomberg?
I mean, to say she barred him, this is an understatement. So basically, what she said was, well, how can we have a president who sits there and calls women sluts and does this and that? And, she set it up like she was talking about 45, because that's the kind of stuff he does. And she said, and I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Michael Bloomberg. And he was standing right next to her. And she was like, and you're sitting there making jokes about women? You fat shame them, you do all this, and then you have them sign non-disclosure agreements, and he's sitting there looking like, I'd rather be anywhere else than dealing with this stupid broad right now. You could tell he had a joke for her, is probably he wanted to say. But anyway, so she just, crushes him. Everyone was talking about it. Like, people were tweeting about it. Sham, I'll say this, that debate made me sick. One good thing I'm happy about is that these debates with all these candidates are over. Not so much Elizabeth Warren's particular piece of it, but just the food fighting. And that's a term I've stolen from Kamala Harris, but she's right. They were just sitting there yelling at each other. I hate bad moderation in debates. And the last two debates have been moderated as poorly as you could possibly imagine. All the moderators for both the debates, I'm not even going to waste time saying who they were. One was CNN, one was MSNBC. We've talked about good moderation. This was bad. They asked stupid questions, and they let the candidates just sit there and scream at each other. So you know what? We want to know why people go out and vote for Joe Biden, because they probably don't even care about watching the debates, because they're like, why should I watch that? I'm not going to learn anything about the candidates. All they do is sit there and scream at each other. I know who Joe Biden is. I'll just vote for him. So that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. But Elizabeth Warren body slammed Mayor Bloomberg. She thought that was going to kick him out the race and make things easier for her. So, but that did not happen. Both of them are still in the race. Who's not in the race? Mayor Pete. The second he got those results from South Carolina, where we knew none of those black people would vote for him because he's gay, he dropped out immediately, like the next day. Now he drops out. He doesn't give his endorsement yet. But then I'm thinking, okay, why did he drop out? Like, at least wait to Super Tuesday. This is last week. Like, what are you doing? He drops out. Amy Klobuchar, who I thought, okay, well, you got Buttigieg to drop out. You've been kind of like going back and forth with him. You're splitting votes with him. So maybe, you could get some traction out of this. She drops out the next day. She drops out, and then she immediately endorses Joe Biden. And it's like, I'm endorsing Joe Biden, this and that. So then Mayor Pete comes around, and he endorses Joe Biden. Then I want to say somebody else who had dropped out a long time. Oh, Beto O'Rourke, who I was like, yo, you're still even around? Why do I care who you endorse? He jumps out there and endorses Joe Biden. So now we have this situation in which everyone is jumping on the Joe Biden bandwagon because they're basically against Bernie Sanders. And Sham, would you like to tell the listeners as we wrap up this segment what you saw? Was it this morning you saw it?
Yeah, it was this morning on the Today Show. They asked her. They basically asked her, why she dropped out, blah blah blah. And then they asked her, well, why are you endorsing Joe Biden? She basically says, because we need a candidate that can win. And then the interviewer goes, what, you don't think Bernie Sanders can win? Oh, no, I don't think, no, I'm sure he can win. Then she kind of like was like, do you think he's not a loser. We just need somebody who can win really big. What? Yeah. Then why the hell were you ever in it?
Yeah. Then why were you in it? Because you couldn't win nothing. I mean, you couldn't win. Buttigieg couldn't win. Like, first of all, you sounded dumb in talking about Sanders just now. Like, either say he's a loser or don't, because you kind of jumped out there and damn near called him one, and then you backtrack. Like, Amy Klobuchar, I respected you a lot up until that moment, or really up until the moment you dropped out before Super Tuesday. Like, it's ironic because I've been wanting people to drop out, but then the moment that, like, you're actually supposed to see what the country believes instead of just one race or really three races, you're going to let one race decide? And Sham and I would talk about this. If I was a donor of Amy Klobuchar or Pete Buttigieg especially, I want my money back right now. I didn't do all this so that you could go through three races and get the result that in some cases, maybe even a better result than you probably should have expected. And then you look in the mirror and decide that if Joe Biden offers you a job in his cabinet, you're going to take it. I didn't give you the money for that. And if I'm a volunteer in the campaign, I ain't not going to endorse for that. So what are you doing? At least like go Super Tuesday, come and then see how you do across the country, and then you could come holler at me and we could drop out. Like, what are you doing? So all of them want some kind of role in his administration. It's disgusting. So anyway, Super Tuesday now, here are the candidates. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, for whatever, Mayor Bloomberg, who I guess he's like, look, I got all the money in the whole world, so y'all ain't gonna make me drop out. I can run my own campaign. And Elizabeth Warren, who has vowed to stay in the race.
And Tulsi Gabbard.
I mean, I didn't even want to mention Tulsi Gabbard because, I mean, what's she doing in this race? I mean, she lost. She didn't even win the American Samoan. That's supposed to be her people. That's sad. It was like, yo, you're wasting your time and ours. Like, get out the race. But that's it. I mean, look, 45. If I'm him, I'm having the best 2 weeks of my life. I mean, that, you know what, Sam? That's all the political news we got for the tape. It's Super Tuesday. By the next show, it'll probably be Sanders and Biden. Sanders is not going to drop out. Like, let's get that straight. He might take this to the convention if he gets enough delegates tonight. Let's get some entertainment going.
So you sent me a message the other night about the Dwayne Wade special on Sunday night. I was actually had already planned on watching it. I didn't, I was like, I don't know why he's telling me to watch it. I was going to watch it anyway. Like, D Wade's my boy. But I'm going to keep this short because we're running long. It was just basically kind of like a biographical, I should say, story of his life and how he grew up and, the steps it took to be where he is. And the first thing I thought when I was watching it was like, dude, you've been traveling with a camera like your entire life. Like this is all like footage from his own camera people. Like, this is crazy to me.
Isn't it amazing when you see these documentaries and you're like, yo, how many, you've been allowing this?
Right. Like, people have been following you since you were like in your teens with a camera. Yeah. Like, it's so odd.
Like you've been making your own little hoop dreams.
Right. Like, this was way premeditated. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and not because it's D Wade, but you know, he talks a lot about how he grew up in Chicago, about his mom's drug problem, which he's never really hidden. He's always been very public about that. It was interesting to me to see that our lives had some similarities. There was a time when you know, and this is something I rarely talk about, and I'm sharing it with the world, is that you know, one time he was in a house and, you know, it got busted and the police came in, and usually when that would happen, he and his sister would sneak out. But this time she snuck out before him and he got caught. And then like the police just threw him down and he had a gun to his head. I've actually been through that when I was 13, and it's not a very pleasant situation to ever be in. Luckily, in my situation, everybody was kind of like sent home and all of us forgotten. But in his situation, that was when his mom got basically arrested and taken, and that's when he started to live with his dad. And he had like other half siblings and whatnot. And then you know, typical story of a good high school basketball player. He excelled, ended up going to Marquette. Freshman year, ended up getting his then girlfriend, future wife, pregnant. And then it all kind of changed his life. I remember this Final Four when the Marquette was in the Final Four. And that's when I first was like, okay, Dwayne Wade is about to be like a serious player in the league. And that's when I kind of like love at first sight was like, oh yeah, this dude is the truth. Talked about how he and Chris Bosh didn't know that LeBron was going to do the decision. So
I think I heard that before. Oh, didn't know he was going to do the show.
The show, right?
Okay.
So Dwayne Wade had been going out testing free agency waters. He thought he was going to end up in New York, but then he was like, "Well, let me figure out how I can do this. How like we can do a team that's going to be dominant." Blah blah blah. So he had talked to Chris and Bron and blah blah. They had all literally agreed, but Chris had signed and he had signed, but they hadn't heard squat from LeBron. He was like checking his phone, blah, blah, blah. Then he realized that ESPN was going to do this show called The Decision. And they still didn't know till that night whether he was going to say Miami or someplace else. So I thought that was interesting.
That's very interesting.
He talked about after the finals loss against Dallas, he had a discussion with LeBreeze, who was basically like, look, this is what we're going to do. Because you stank it up.
Doing that,
you stank it up. I'm going to play second fiddle to you. You be who you are, and this is how it's going to go. And even Eric Spoelstra was like, what is happening? Like, their whole, like, off-season game was tight. Like, the way they would practice and all this stuff. Spoelstra was like, oh, what's going on here? Like, so basically ended up working.
I'm not surprised to hear that at all. I view Dwayne Wade as an on-floor general. And I feel like that's the only time I've seen LeBron James be bossed around on the court by another player.
Yeah. He said he had Spoelstra actually said that he had noticed a difference in Dwayne Wade's play and had questioned it and was like, what the hell is going on here? Because he had backed off so much. And then they were like, yo, this is how we're going to win these championships.
And to your point, before you continue, the on the court bossing was, hey, man, you're the best player out here. Like, I'm great. And I'm great in a different way. But in order for us to succeed, you need to be the best player out here. You need to do this. So he was bossing them in the sense of, you need to be great right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, once that whole thing ended and they lost in the finals to San Antonio, he basically was like, you know, this is when things just kind of started to creep apart in Miami because they were trying to sign LeBron. They were trying to re-sign Chris Bosh, and they were doing these communications through Dwayne Wade. And he's like, okay, can you call LeBron and get him to call me back? Can you do this? Can you do that?
Oh, God.
Chris Bosh signed first, and then they were still trying to get LeBron. And then when LeBron said on national television or did the letter saying he was going back to Cleveland, Wade was like, all right, well, I'm left. I'm probably going to get a big deal. And then they never offered him the deal. That's why he ended up in Chicago. So
didn't they pay Whiteside
money? They paid Whiteside some money, but they had given Chris Bosh a max deal. Because remember, Houston had offered him something, and then Miami countered Houston, and they ended up signing Chris Bosh. But you know how that ended up. So he just felt hurt, and he was like, Miami don't want me no more. And that's how he ended up in Chicago. And then they talked about him then going to Cleveland, getting the buyout once Chicago traded Jimmy Butler, and then ultimately coming back to Miami because Pat Riley called him and was like, look, this is where he belongs.
Why don't you just come back? Yeah.
And he also talked about his relationship with Gabrielle Union and the side baby, and like he was very transparent in everything. And if you're gonna do something autobiographical, you need to be transparent.
So it sounds like it was a good 2 hours.
It was full. It was a packed 2 hours.
All right. Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. If I would watch it. I would watch it. I probably wouldn't go out my way to watch it because I haven't been. I like Wade, but he's not like a draw to me like that. But I would watch that. I would definitely watch that. So that's good. All right. And good. Some other upbeat. You got some updates for us? So what to expect down the pipe?
The post Avengers MCU.
Yes.
And a lot of it is happening on Disney Plus, and I'm just going to talk about that because actually Black Widow comes out this year. We all know about that already.
Yep. I want to say in April, right?
Yeah, it's coming up soon.
Yeah.
But they're doing WandaVision, and they're doing so at the end of the Avengers, Captain America passed his shield on to the Falcon. Correct. They're doing that show. And there was another show that I was interested in seeing. Oh man, it's right at the tip of my tongue, which more so than those two. No, not the Hawkeye one. That one, I don't know. Why do everybody disrespect the Hawkeye?
I mean, you sound like my boys, and I'll just say it, our DC world, they are funny, man. When they do the Avengers stuff and they be disrespect the Hawkeye, those dudes are funny. Yeah.
But the one that kind of like really got me was when they were talking about doing She-Hulk.
I mean,
so just basically a female version of Incredible Hulk.
I mean, she's a character.
Yeah, but Yeah,
look, they need to focus on Blade. What's up with that project?
Right.
we both have we've invested some time. We need some updates. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. That was the perfect time to say it. Did we talk about this? Wesley has made some comments about it.
What? No, we didn't talk about this.
Oh my God, you didn't know that. Okay. So, yes, that's right. I meant to send it to you. So listeners, Sham's getting it just like you get it. Wesley Snipes, when it came out, so this went under our radar. He put out a statement to his fans, like I think it was a tweet or something saying, I know about the Blade, basically recast, and everything's cool. He basically was like, he put out a nice statement, but underneath it, you could tell it was the Stop Playing podcast was on top of this. This was done behind Wesley Snipes' back. Mahershala Ali and Wesley Snipes Mahershala Ali needs to take Wesley Snipes out and make this up to him because he said, I was a little surprised and disappointed. He put that in the statement, but he said everything's cool. So yeah, that didn't go smooth. Mahershala Ali caught the studio behind that man's back and took his part. I mean, Shan, we crabs in the barrel out here.
Yeah, you're right.
Come on, man. You got to at least give Wesley the courtesy call that, hey, man, look, you know what? Pass the baton to me.
Hey,
so, yes, he made a statement. He
just wants them to give him a role in the movie. He don't even got to be Blade. Just give him a little sidebar role.
I mean, what was it not quoted that he asked for the part?
Yo said Mahershala Ali called Kevin Feige. And when he calls, you answer.
You answer, yeah. So I don't think he called for a bit part.
Right.
Something tells me he didn't call to be an extra. But yeah. So I'm glad we were talking about this because that just popped in my head. Yes.
Yeah. So that should be exciting. I'm probably gonna watch a couple of those things.
I'm excited.
Moving on to our childhood again. Mm-hmm. I sent you this story because this actually happened last week and it just popped. I don't even know how it ended up in my purview, but Lark Voorhies, who we affectionately know as Lisa Turtle on Saved by the Bell,
Yeah.
Was recently on the Dr. Oz show. And this is one of the first times she's been out in public in years because she does suffer from bipolar syndrome.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, bipolar disorder. And she looked well, but you could tell, I don't know how much of the video you saw. Like when she was talking, you can tell she still wasn't comfortable.
I saw it.
Being
I saw
out
exactly
there. Like she was still a little, I don't want to say off center, but it looked like it was still a struggle for her. I was glad to see her come out and talk about all of this.
And you know, they're talking about a reunion.
Yeah, and they didn't invite her to it.
I mean, they didn't, which is, she should have been invited. That's not appropriate. But it's probably the best that she's not participating. Yeah, but she should have been invited. She should have been invited.
She should have been invited.
My point is, was Dustin Diamond invited? Because he shouldn't be invited.
He definitely shouldn't have been invited.
Yeah. Screech is out of control. So her invitation should come before his, if anything.
Right. But, and he's out of control and has all his faculties. Like she has a disorder that she can blame. He is just nasty.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just a nasty, like apparently just completely unpleasant individual. So yeah. But nah, look, I'm glad to see. I saw the video, and I'm glad to see her be able to at least come out and talk about it. And to your point, from Jump Street, I feel like, or post-show Jump Street, she's been open about the fact that she suffers from this. I hate to see her suffering from it. There are people who have bipolar who I feel like have been able to have more success once they deal with it. And I wish that was the case for her.
Well, her problem was behaviorally. She just wasn't able to, like, she was going through some things, and I don't want to say things in poor taste, but she wasn't able. She wouldn't have been able to be present and to do roles like that, like she had been. So but hey, good to see her somewhat healthy and breathing and about, because that doesn't always be the case for child actors, especially who suffer from problems. So that's one good thing. Something that made me sad, our next story, but it's like perplexing. So this just happened like 2 days ago. So we just came off talking about politics and this and that, and Public Enemy, one of the just staples of hip hop. Flavor Flav.
Yes. So Flavor Flav, he wasn't an event he did with Bernie Sanders. Like he got on stage or let him play a song or something. I forget the exact details, but he's aligned himself with Bernie Sanders politically. Flavor Flav has. And I guess Chuck D doesn't appreciate that. And Chuck D fired Flavor Flav from Public Enemy. Now, Sham, does Public Enemy like have direct deposit and payroll and all that where people are employed by them? I thought if you're in the group, you're in the group. The term firing to me was very curious, which it was also curious to Flavor Flav because it seems like over Bernie Sanders. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, Bobby Brown got fired.
From New Edition?
Yeah. They kicked him out. It was done.
And so anyway, I mean, this is just sad in so many levels. First of all, what's the relationship between Chuck D and Flavor Flav, where they're issuing edicts about letting people go from the group, whether it be about Bernie Sanders or not, and actually getting I'm actually going through some scrolls and some news and getting some conflicting reports about the cost. But the point being, Public Enemy, like, why are y'all squabbling in public like this? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you guys been together for what, 30 years? Like, just a phone call can't suffice. If you guys aren't that close anymore, just break up as a group formally and let everybody keep their respect. Why are people getting fired? I guess is where I'm at. That's really, I think, the thrust of my argument on this is like, guys, this could be handled better.
They said he was on drugs, and that's why he sent the cease and desist letter. He said, I'm not on drugs.
Yeah, I'm not on drugs. What are you talking about?
I just ain't want my likeness there.
It's like, guys, fellas, like, handle this a little better, guys, please.
I think Chuck D has taken this a little too far. I can't respect him.
I blame Chuck D for this, and he's making himself sound like the adult in the room, but it's like, stop it, guys.
This is stupid. But y'all can all have different political.
Anytime Flavor Flav seems like the reasonable way here, maybe Chuck D, you should think about how you went about this whole thing. Because Flavor Flav seems entirely reasonable. He's like, why is this a story? What? Because what's happening right now? And I'm like, you know what, Flavor Flav, I agree with you. Now you look ridiculous, but I agree with you. All right, but anyway, so hopefully they pass that up. It sounds like they might be. Maybe there's some false reports out there for what I'm being made to understand, even at this very moment. So, gratuitous, Sham. It's gratuitous HBO mention time. The Outsider. The show hasn't ended yet. It's a good show. Sham, you do not like horror. This is based on a Stephen King novel. So I think on its surface, it might be considered as horror, but it's really more, I would consider it as suspense / even thriller. There's a supernatural element to it, but I think it's kind of in the mold of a True Detective type thing, where, you know, there's a murder and they're trying to unravel it, and there are some supernatural elements, but it's really more of a sort of a detective type deal, a crime solver's case. So it's very good. I like the pacing. The only reason I felt compelled to mention it, besides the fact that it's on HBO and they do pay me, is that the young lady who played Harriet Tubman has a central role in it. I forget her name. I'm sorry. I should have came more prepared than that. But she is integral into the plot. She plays she's a private detective. She's helping the police solve this murder. And she's a very quirky personality. She's like a savant. She has like a genius level personality. So she might see an Emmy from this, actually. She's done a very good job. And so anytime my Black actresses are shining, I'd like to give them the props. So there's that.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, you have an HBO gratuitous mention. I'll save you the trouble of saying it's HBO gratuitous for you, but enlighten us.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about Curb Your Enthusiasm because it's a show that we both like, but you're not even caught up yet. But I will say this, it's been excellent this season, and it's by far, it's one of the best ones, I will say. Like, I love when Larry David goes away for a long time and then comes back, because then he comes with some like gold. It's like it's been great. I would say this season has been like, in how many seasons? This is season 10.
I want to say, I was about to say 8, but no, you're right. At least
this is
9.
season 10. I would say it's in the top 5 already. It's not even over yet.
I'll take that endorsement like very seriously from you, because I feel like you're harder on the show than I am, and you like it. Like, there'll be seasons I'm like, yo, that was great. And you're like, no, it wasn't.
That was trash.
You're like, that was a trash season. Like, you don't like the Seinfeld season. And I love the Seinfeld season.
That season was trash.
Oh, my God. Trash?
A lot of people like that season. I didn't like it.
Well, first of all, did you like Seinfeld, though?
Yeah, I like Seinfeld enough. I mean, look, I understand the nostalgia of it. Like, people excited to see like the characters back together and getting that old feeling back. But as far as like writing in the season itself, I mean, he's had far better seasons than that season to me.
Yeah, I think I like the thread of him trying to get the wife back and like using that as a vehicle. I really like that. But anyway, all right. So, okay. So we're both excited. Yes, I'm very behind. You know what, listeners, y'all the family. I had a little snafu with HBO in the sense that I like HBO so much that I decided to share my password with everyone in the whole world. And then people decided to share their passwords or my password with other people without telling me. And I got blocked out of HBO. And Sam, I don't think Sham's been this amused about any suffering of mine in a long time. She texted me that night. I put a big social media thing out there like, I don't know who's responsible, but I'm changing my HBO password immediately and like, screw all of y'all. And Sham hit me like, your HBO travails to make me laugh so hard.
Yes.
And I hated it.
But yeah, I mean, that's happened to me before too.
Yeah, it caused me to be behind.
I share my Netflix password with people, only about 4. But like when I can't get on there, I'll be like, who the heck is signed in? But Netflix tells you who is signed in. It'll be
HBO
like,
does too. You have to do some digging, but it'll tell you. It'll show. It doesn't tell you exactly who, but it'll tell you like the device, and
oh yeah,
that made me figure it out.
Netflix gives the name.
Yeah, yeah, I know. They need to give names, and HBO will show you what they're watching. So like, as soon as you pull up something and you can see what people watching, I kind of puzzled it out. I figured it out, but yeah. So anyway, all right. So excited about that. Our last entertainment story. Then we're gonna wrap stuff up. Again, sports is gonna be very quick. We have talked about this show that we're about to talk about. High Noon on ESPN. Bomani Jones and Pablo Torre. They announced that they are their last show. I want to say will be in about 2 months, maybe a month. I don't remember the exact date. They gave a date, so they're gonna have some shows. They're gonna run out the string. You and I both talked about the show. Not a lot because I think we gave our opinion about it pretty strongly, like in 1 or 2 segments, and then we just left it alone because it didn't really change. Um, I mean, look, we both like. I mean, we both like Pablo Torre, and one of us especially likes the hell out of Bomani Jones, and that person is not. That person is not me.
Bomani Jones, get at me.
Oh man, and we like them singularly, and it's just hard. I don't know. I can't even put my finger on why this show didn't work, but it just didn't.
It didn't work because they were trying too hard to be PTI. Stop trying to be PTI, and you do fine. Like it was literally the drugstore knockoff of a Chanel perfume. Like it just didn't work. Like we've seen this done extraordinarily well with Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon, and they're trying to do they were trying to do another version. And you can't get people to get into something that they've already seen for 20 years be so great. And I'm not big on Pablo Torre. I think he's alright. Like he doesn't engage me. Like I don't feel like, I've said this to you before. I don't know why Tony Kornheiser thinks he's so awesome.
Him.
He like slurps him, to use their own term.
Yeah.
And I'm not feeling it. Like he guests on PTI and he's like, oh my God, he's great. And I'm like, there's Jay Williams was actually a better guest on PTI than I thought Pablo was. Like, I don't know. It's just something about him that people just love. And that's fine. I don't have to like him. But I think that Bomani Jones and Pablo Torre are probably decent enough friends in real life. But something just didn't translate on that show. And it couldn't keep me engaged.
Yeah, I think you used the right word, decent. I feel like there's a friendship there. Or I'll put it this way: whatever, there probably is a friendship, but there's a mutual admiration. But I think that their styles are so different that it's just like it wasn't complimentary. You can have different styles, but if it's complimentary, then that's great. Their styles are not complimentary. To your point, Pablo Torre, he's extra about everything. He's just extra. He's extra. He has an extra personality and all that. Bomani Jones, he can be extra about the stuff he cares about, but in the general, he's not. He has more of sort of a not laid back, but more of a stolid demeanor. He gives his opinion. It's a little bit more serious. Pablo Torre is a little bit more extra / humorous. You have to have a certain, the public has to come into it knowing how close you are and knowing that you guys are friends and knowing that you guys, I'll put it this way. You can see Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon get into a heated argument and know that it's not going to ruin their friendship. I've never seen the two. I wouldn't see Pablo Torre and Bomani Jones on that show get into a heated argument and not walk away from that thinking, well, that's what we knew might be coming. That might break up the show. Like they're not that good of friends where that couldn't happen and it wouldn't tear up the show. And I don't know what that's called, but they didn't have it to bridge that gap. but they both, I think their contracts are running out. So ESPN made a nice statement and said they're going to figure out, like, they're going to keep them on and try to figure out what they're going to do with them. But both of them can end up walking. Maybe go to Fox Sports or something.
Oh God, no.
Well, I mean, Fox Sports ain't that bad now, Sam. Let's get that straight. I mean, it ain't that. There's no difference between the yelling that goes on there and the yelling that goes on ESPN. So PTI is the only show, in my opinion, that off the top of my head, that elevates it above Fox Sports.
Yeah, that's the only show I watch on ESPN these days. So
exactly. So one more show than what I watch on Fox Sports consistently. But my point is, they both have the same type of shows at this point, with half of the same people that came from ESPN on Fox Sports.
So we can actually start talking about sports.
We got some good updates though. Not a lot going on in terms of. I think we are at a nice little period where a ramp up is about to begin. March Madness, we're on the cusp of that. We'll get to that towards the end of the show. And yeah, a lot of stuff is about to start. So what do we got? We were on the cusp of the NBA All-Star game last time. We had our thoughts about how it's going to play out. Go ahead.
It's been a week, about a week and a half or 2 weeks since the All-Star game. So it's going to be like a really quick reaction from us. The reaction is, for me, it was excellent.
Excellent.
It was exactly what I thought it was going to be after I figured out what the layout was. The only complaint I have, or the adjustment I would make now, is that we go back to East and West, and then it's even more like a battle to see who's the best conference. But other than that, I thought the game itself was great. I want to give kudos to Trae Young, because he played in the Rising Stars Challenge. He then came into the 3-point shootout Saturday night, and then he played in the All-Star game. This is what I like about the youth of the NBA. When you have people who are fully invested in All-Star weekend, and it creates a better fan experience when you see stuff like that.
Absolutely. Trae Young is a rising star in the league, definitely. Everything you said about the All-Star game, I'll just go ahead and rubber stamp that. Only thing I'll say is, instead of being absolutely right, I was absolutely wrong, because I was on this show like, hey, I'm not going to watch that. Like, whatever. First of all, I was lying. I did watch it, and I'm glad I did watch it. And yeah, the format worked out great. We actually had a sense of urgency in the All-Star game. That's all I ever wanted. When we were taping last time, the dunk contest and everything was happening, man, that turned out to be an excellent dunk contest.
Yeah, and again, Aaron Gordon was robbed.
I disagree with that, but
I don't.
Yeah,
we
we'll disagree, but that not on the show today. But yeah,
I just feel like if a man gives you 5 straight or 6 straight 50s, he should not have to keep dunking.
I don't think
it's just this. Like, he gave you perfection all night until you made him do it again, and the guy he was dunking against did not have that same level of perfection.
Okay, so that will be. I'll leave it there too. That will be the debate, because I disagree with the fact that his opponent didn't do it. I think they should have let him split. And I disagree that Aaron Gordon did more than the winner. But we'll disagree. We'll agree to disagree. Can we agree that maybe we might have been satisfied if they had been at some point before they cut it off? They had given them both a title and let them walk away. And I'm not for that in general, but they both were just coming with it, especially at the beginning.
I mean, I hear that, and I'm not very mad at that argument, but cumulatively, points-wise, Aaron Gordon would have won.
All right, well, we'll agree to disagree. But it was a great weekend, and there was great entertainment. I can't say that from beginning to end, I've enjoyed the NBA All-Star game weekend as much as I've enjoyed it in terms of watching the product, especially the All-Star game itself. I can't remember the last time I was that engaged in an All-Star game. So that was excellent.
So the plan worked.
It worked. Okay. So that's pretty much I mean, the NBA in a little nutshell there. Now, NFL. NFL, in all seriousness, the NFL had the collective bargaining agreement. We are still kind of in the throes of this because the players haven't voted yet. Correct? Like,
and some of the players is like, hell to the no.
Yeah. Now, this is very interesting. They've talked about this again on PTI a lot, which is good because it's important. So the last lockout we had, Sham, I didn't realize it, man. I mean, it's been 10 years since the last lockout. That was a fast 10 years in my book.
Yeah, it was very fast.
Yeah. Or 9 years, I should say. It's coming up. It'll be up next year.
When they had them fake referees.
Oh my God. Wait, no, that was a different. Was it all part of the same lockout?
Maybe that was a different
one. Yeah,
no,
that was the referees themselves had a lockout. Yeah, they had to pay them because of the Seattle Green Bay game. Yeah, where the dude called it a touchdown on the Hail Mary. Yeah, I think that was more recent. I think that was like maybe 6-7 years ago. But I might be wrong about that though. Look, bottom line is the NFL has their collective bargaining agreement. It'll be expiring after the end of the 2020-2021 season. So they're trying to get ahead of it, get a new deal carved out. The big points of the deal are that as far as the players are concerned, they'll get a bigger slice of the pie. By bigger, it's 0.5%, I believe. So from 48 to 48.5% of the revenue.
But then they would have to play an extra game.
And then the extra game. So that's the trade-off. and actually, what also was important was the league minimum would be raised, I believe, by like $100,000. Okay.
Yeah, I think it goes up to $400,000.
Yeah. So okay. So obviously the extra game, like that's the big sticking point. So all the big players, Aaron Rodgers, Richard Sherman, J.J. Watt, these are big guys, right? They are completely opposed, particularly because of the 17th game. So they're sitting there telling everybody who will listen, going on social media, doing all this stuff, like, look, do not approve this, whatever. The owners have already approved it. They're fine. The player reps, so every team has a player rep. They have one rep, so they're 32 player reps. The player reps have their own little vote. At first, they turned it down, but then they approved it. So now it's got to go to the rank and file. So now all the loud people like Richard Sherman, Aaron Rodgers, all these people are sitting there like, okay, well, players, rank and file. Y'all got to turn this down. But what did we just talk about? We're talking about, okay, well, yeah, there's an extra game. Guys could get hurt. And that's what like Aaron Rodgers and all those guys are saying. But all the rank and file guys are saying, hey, well, wait a minute. I don't know how long I'm going to be in the league. I might be in here 2 years, 3 years. Extra 100,000 sounds good to me. I'll risk the extra game. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. Like, you guys are making $20-30 million a year. Richard Sherman, you're playing on per diem because you don't care because you made a ton of money. This is my little nickels and dimes I'm fighting for. Y'all, we're not on the same level. You guys can't relate to me, and I can't relate to y'all. So y'all can't tell me how to feel about this deal. And that's kind of where the NFL is right now in terms of, or the Players Association. And unlike other players associations, baseball has a farm system. So like you can't really, their union is powerful because they have so many players and so many kind of different tiers that they can do a lot more flexibility. And the NBA is not as powerful because they don't have as many players. So it's easy to get them in line. Or they're more powerful rather because it's easy to get them in line and have a voice. The NFL, they have so many players with so many different interests that it's hard to marshal all of that into one common thought. So, yeah, they haven't voted on it yet. And I don't know, has there been a date assigned? Have you heard anything about that?
I just know that it's looming. It's coming very soon.
Yeah. And people don't know how the players are going to vote. Like all these big players are, Richard, again, all the guys with the big platforms are killing the deal, but people are like, so what? Those are only like a handful of players. There are 2,500 players, or however many, 5,300. I'm tripping. There are thousands of players in the NFL. They don't have to listen to these guys. They all have a vote. So it's kind of like Joe Biden. You can tell people all you want, don't vote for him. Yeah, whatever. We not listening to y'all.
Yeah, he out here killing
his
first
killing people. Yeah.
And to wrap up sports, I'm just gonna run through some college basketball.
Yep.
Like you said earlier, like March Madness is looming. It is March 3rd. And it just dawned on me this week that the season ends this weekend. Like I was literally watching Duke last night and they were like, oh, they play Carolina on Saturday, and that's it. Yep. Like, and then we're into the tournament.
That's it.
The conference tournaments.
That's it.
So right now we've been talking about how the number ones just keep dropping. So right now Kansas has been basically the steady number one for like the last couple weeks because Baylor ended up losing 2 games. What's interesting though is that Kansas is under investigation, but they are the best team in the country right now. So a lot of the thought is, do you really want? So what if Kansas wins the national title this year? And the NCAA is still investigating them for past crimes. Like, once that investigation is over, do they have to give back this championship that they could possibly win this year? So that's like in the forefront of people's minds. They play Kansas State again over the weekend.
And I heard some kind of story that there's extra security, or excuse me, not even security, an extra police presence at the game. Like, why don't they calm down? It was a fight on the court.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't happen again. Kansas smacked them around. Right. But so that whole like them being and Bill Self being under investigation because of Adidas giving them certain things. It was a whole mess involving Adidas and Bill Self and all types of other stuff. But so that's been looming. And just some other thoughts. So Gonzaga, BYU, and St. Mary's are all like in the top 10 right now, and they're all from the West Coast Conference. And for the first time in like ever, they could get like 3 teams in the tournament. So that's something to watch out for. I just mentioned Duke. They lost twice to non-ranked teams and they lost 113 to like 101 to Wake Forest in overtime the other night. Like, I've said this, they have become the Jack in the Box team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it angers me, but
I've been thinking about
also kind of like, it also kind of makes me happy because I've said this in the past. I like when Duke is not expected to do well. They're kind of leveled and brought down to earth because this is the type of team they have been because their name is so huge. They don't ever get to be leveled.
Yeah.
So we get to see what they really are made of when that happens. The last undefeated team, San Diego State, they lost. So we don't have any more undefeated. And also, did you see that Bobby Knight returned to Indiana?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so they did this ceremony to honor the 1980 championship team. And he was there, and it was like it was actually very nice to see because Bobby Knight left Indiana under license.
Yeah.
It was
that was not a pleasant departure.
No, it was kind of one of the worst departures you could ever imagine for someone who brought so much to the school.
Correct.
But it was nice that he came back and he was honored and like everybody was pumped. The fans were cheering. Dang, Joe Biden just won Tennessee. So it was just very nice. But it also made me think too when I was thinking like, man, the season's over. Like that was quick. Like I'm one who really likes to get into it and sit and watch like college basketball. Like I sit and watch football. Now, obviously there's more games than there are in football, but I was just like reflecting, like I really haven't gotten a chance to sit and watch like I've wanted to. It's just like come and gone because all we've been talking about is like the Astros and the NFL season was long. And then the NBA season came in and just like NCAA basketball just doesn't get the attention that it deserves. And I think even like Mike Wilbon had mentioned that in an episode of PTI, either it had to have been last week because it's Tuesday, that they're being overshadowed by all these other things happening in sports.
No, it gets sandwiched. It gets sandwiched. And then all of a sudden the tournament happens.
Yeah, I feel like it never used to be like that though.
I mean, it's been like that to me for a while. And I regret it because college basketball is such a great sport, is my point. Like the tournament pops up and people are like, oh yeah, okay. And everybody does a bracket, but like, what, 20% of people know the teams.
Right.
You know, and know the teams to the degree that they should be filling out a bracket in the first place. But yeah, it gets sandwiched. It gets sandwiched because it starts right around when NBA starts and it ends like right after the Super Bowl, essentially. So yeah, it gets overshadowed a lot. Absolutely.
And did I say Bernie Sanders won Tennessee, or did I say Joe Biden?
Well, you can clean it up whichever way you want.
Right, but it was actually Joe Biden. But
yeah, I'd have been very surprised if Bernie Sanders won Tennessee. I mean, it looks like Joe Biden is cleaning it up in the South. Actually, I have some breaking news real quick. It ties two of our stories together. The NBA was actually going to introduce a basketball league in Africa. And the starting date was going to be March the 13th. They have now canceled, not even postponed it. Well, they say postponed. So let me say that. Let me take that back. But indefinitely because of coronavirus. They already had players set up and all that. They want to do a test satellite league, and it has been postponed indefinitely because of coronavirus. That's breaking news. Came across my feed.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I didn't even know they had known cases in Africa.
Not only did I know, well, I don't even know if they do. I think they're saying like just in case.
Yeah. Well, precautions.
Yeah. I mean, precautions is fine, but that's sad that I love the idea of having a little satellite league there, and now they're gonna, because the rest of the world can't get their act together about Corona, but I guess not.
Well,
so yeah,
that wraps up this edition of the Stop Playing Podcast with Sham and Shaka. Once again, you can catch us on any podcast app that you use. We are there. Just type in the words, the Stop Playing Podcast. We also have a YouTube channel, so check us out there. You can also check us out on Facebook at the Stop Playing Podcast, and on Instagram under that same name, and on Twitter at stop_playing pod. Like I always say, keep your chips on the plate. No double dipping unless it's the podcast. And damn it, man, wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Yeah, I'm going to chime in on that part.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys.
Stop playing.